What's going on, guys? Alex here with 814 EDC, and today I'm doing a kind of a dual knife review on the Kizer knives Staffi and the Kizer knives Bulli. So these knives are both in via the Lefty passaround group, and I decided to do one video for both of these because to me these are essentially the same exact knives, just different blade shapes. So on the bottom here we have the Staffi, and on the top here we have the Bulli. And you guys can see here it's, literally the same design, clutch lock from Kizer, just a different blade shape. Because if you, let me take this, if you cover up the blades, that is the same knife. Obviously they are designed by the same person. These are Osho designs. They are in from the Lefty passaround group. I don't know if I mentioned that already or not. But yeah, we're going to kind of just talk about them. I'm going to try to not make this like super long and drawn out because again, it essentially is the same knife. But I just, figured it'd be nice to compare the two too, because honestly, I'm a little bit perplexed and a little bit interested why Osho decided to do two different specific designs for these knives instead of, just having, different blade shapes for it. I feel like that's kind of interesting. Can't talk today. A little bit of, there's definitely some interest behind that. I'm sorry, guys. It's just one of those days. Can't talk too much. But yeah, so without further ado, we're going to jump into materials. Here on the Staffi, it is rocking, obviously, a clutch lock from Kizer. You have a black and gray titanium. So you just have a gray kind of a bolster up here of titanium, and then black titanium. You have a backspacer running the whole length of it, which definitely adds some weight to it, with a nice little hidden lanyard post back here. You have a reversible pocket clip, so it just functions. I think it's reversible. It's a stupid question. Guess I should have confirmed that before, but it's a clutch lock, so it should be reversible. I guess that's my fault for not fully knowing before jumping into this. But yeah, milled titanium pocket clip back here. Beautiful harpoon compound grind blade. Kizer there. You have a hollow grind right here with a flat grind up here. Nice chisel there on the tip. S45VN right there. It says Staffi and Osho. So that is the Staffi. And then here with the Bulli, we have a DLC coated drop point style blade. And I think I mentioned in my unboxing of this knife, also S45VN, and also a compound grind with the hollow here and the flat up here. But this reminds me of like an M16 from like the Vietnam era. Kind of like the top bar of an M16, so that looks kind of cool. Here on the back, we have a black DLC titanium, bolster. And then here we have, I think this is Mars Valley. It's just fat carbon, but I think that this is Mars Valley fat carbon, really nice with the blacks and the grays, the reds and the oranges. I haven't seen one this vibrant in person in a while, which is really nice. So really like that one. And then same clip, same clutch lock, a little bit of internal milling on this one as well as this one. But again, with those full back spacers, these ones definitely are a little bit weighty compared to, your typical clutch lock knives. So now some specs. Should be the same for, no, because the different blade lengths. So the Staffi, we have an overall length of 7.98 inches with a blade length of 3.31, a blade thickness of 0.138, and it comes in weighing 5.14 ounces, so definitely a little bit of heft in the pocket. And then the Bulli comes in at an overall length of 8 inches on the nose, blade length of 3.3, blade thickness of 0.138. This one weighs 4.4 ounces, so a good ounce lighter, and you can definitely tell the difference, obviously, because this is full titanium. This one is fat carbon, or carbon fiber. I am going to leave a link to both of them down below in the description if you guys are interested in checking them out. White Mountain Knives has both variations available. And as far as other variations of the Staffi, you can get a DLC coated blade with gold titanium, these backwards, gold, titanium, carbon fiber with a blacked out blade and a nice pop of color as a gold thumb stud. And then as far as the Bulli, it's very similar to that one as well. You can get it in a handbrush satin blade with a gold bolster and a black rest of the handle, S45VN as well. So I definitely like the two variations that I came across, got across the table via the pass around group as compared to the other two. I think they look the best. And out of the two, I definitely prefer the Staffi a little bit, and we'll touch on that in a second, actually pretty soon here with the action in a minute, but just wanted to give you guys a quick size comparison. Line these babies up. We'll get the pair of 3 from Spyderco, and the TRM Neutron 2. You guys can see a good bit bigger than both of those knives. I would classify these two as medium-sized knives, and I would classify these ones as smaller, large-sized knives, if that makes any sense to you guys. Sometimes my logic and brain don't work together sometimes. But as far as action goes, we're going to jump into that next, and that is the sole reason why I prefer the Staffi over the Bulli. So we're going to start with the Bulli first. And the sole reason I'm not a huge fan of the Bulli is the blade shape and the way the thumb studs are pushed so far away from the handle and the pivot. So you guys can see here how the Staffi is nice and tucked into the scale. With this one, you have all of this play down here, and obviously with the clutch lock, they are adjustable. There's holes for adjustability when it comes to the springs. I'm not certain. Normally you can see it, but these have the full back spacers on there. So I'm not certain if this one is just, in like the weakest hole possible, and this one is in like the strongest. But I also do think it's because of how this, blade shape is. You have to like push yourself farther away from the knife, and you guys can see there it's coming out, but it's weak. It's not firing like it normally would. There are even times when I fail the knife and I'm not even trying to. It doesn't really give you much of a resounding snap, and you just have to like manipulate your hand a little bit weird to get to it. And the middle finger flick is like atrocious. You can get to it, but you have to put your finger a certain way and fire a little bit weird. And the thumb studs are not the most intuitive to use. And I was honestly a little bit shocked by that, because Osho is a great designer. I like a lot of his stuff, and just seeing that the thumb studs are at least giving me trouble like this. I would love to hear if anyone else out there has had trouble with the way the thumb studs are placed on the Bulli, because I've been having a struggle with it ever since I got it in. It works fine for slow roll, and of course no blade play, and you get that nice clutch lock action, really nice and just drop shut. So that's the nice thing about it, but it's just not the most intuitive to use when it comes to how to operate the thumb studs with the Bulli. Now for the Staffi, definitely just is a lot more in tune with how a crossbar lock should feel. It's a lot better placement there, and you can just build pressure, just flies right out. And like I said, I could be a little bit wrong, and I could be, this could have on the strongest tension hole, and this one could be on the most, the least amount of tension hole. I didn't want to take them apart because I had so many other knives in, and I don't love to take apart, crossbar locks in general, especially pass around knives. But I just much prefer the action to the Staffi. Just really nice. Thumb flick works great. Middle finger works great. Slow roll works great. And of course you get that nice drop shot action there with the clutch lock. So that is why I prefer the Staffi to the Bulli. And it's really the only thing, because the rest of it is obviously the same. It's going to be the same ergo, same carry. So we'll touch on ergos. Ergos will be a little bit different because I guess it's a little bit of a different blade shape. But as far as handle goes, I can get all 4 fingers on here really easily. It's a very comfortable handle, nice and skinny through here. Gets kind of fat and tapers out here towards the back. But it's a skinny knife. Pocket clip is an interesting, version of a milled clip, but it's not causing a hot spot at all. You do get a little bit of a point there, but as far as it goes in my hand specifically, I can't even feel that, which is nice. Then you could technically use this as like a choke up point if you had small fingers, but honestly, my finger is like right on the edge of the blade, and I would not want to, slide onto the blade and slice my hand open. But the titanium has a nice matte finish to it. It's not the most textured. It's definitely a little bit slick, especially if it gets cold. But you learn to live with that, I guess, with knives like this. And then of course here, the harpoon style blade. You have a lot of jimping up top here. You can put your thumb. It can fall anywhere from right here, out here in the middle, or if you have huge hands or just want to choke up, you can land out here in kind of the poon area, which is nice. Gives you that great push through cardboard or whatever else you may be cutting through. And of course there with that hollow ground section of the blade here, it just chews through material, which is really nice. Yeah, good ergos on the Staffi. And very similar to the Staffi, you're going to get good ergos as well on the Bulli. Same thing, full fingers here on the knife. Puck clip is not causing an issue. This one's a little bit lighter, of course, because it's not full titanium. You do have that inlay there. The only thing that's really different here is instead of a, harpoon blade with a flat, area for your thumb, you have a thumb ramp for your thumb. A little bit of jimping there on top. I still prefer the Staffi a little bit more, but that's just personal preference. I don't have an issue with this. It still is comfortable. And of course you can choke up if you need be. Yeah, I mean, just kind of bigger, comfortable knives. And I feel like that's, just the nature of the beast. So nothing really crazy to write home about. It's just comfortable. And yeah, so next we're going to talk about carryability. Get out my hank here. Not the biggest fan of these clips. They work fine. I mean, it is what it is. It's just not moving the needle for me. You guys can see here, it's relatively deep carry. You still have a little bit sticking up out of your pocket there, but not the end of the world. I've gotten so much more lenient on milled clips. It goes in a pocket really well. You don't have a ton of clearance. If you do have thicker walled pockets on your pants, you might have a little bit of an issue. But, sits in the pocket, no flipper tab, no jimping, anything like that to possibly catch your hand on both of these, which is really nice. A little bit of weight to these, 4.4 ounces, 5.3, 5.4-ish. So there's definitely a little bit more, you can tell there's a little bit more of a heavier item in your pocket, but honestly, not that big of a deal. At least to me. And some of you guys might love, a nice heavy duty, like a little bit of a weightiness to it, pocket knife. But again, no issues that I had at least, which is nice. But yeah, that leads me to my final category, which is price point and would I recommend this knife. So price point on the Staffi and the Bulli. Would you guys be crazy to be told that they are the same? Both variations of the Staffi and both variations of the Bulli are $239. At the link down below, which I'll be leaving to White Mountain Knives, I'll leave one specifically to the Staffi and to the Bulli, or to the Staffi and to the Bulli. You guys can check it out. Save some money. Of course, with someone's code, it'll probably get you down $215-ish, which is nice. But as far as value goes, I don't have an issue with the price, and I feel like that's been kind of the theme of my reviews recently. I don't have an issue, with the price point. I think for the materials, S45VN, titanium, clutch lock, milled clip, carbon fiber, like these are really, really well-built knives. I have no issues at all in those price points. And again, Osho's a really great designer, so that might be why, the price is a little bit higher. I much prefer the price with a discount code, which is why I linked them to White Mountain, so you guys can utilize that discount code. So I'm going to go out on a limb, and it's not a fantastic value, but I still think the price is worth it if you are a fan of these designs. Just be aware, if you guys are getting the Bulli, again, I could be you know, just not even thinking about where. I don't have a flashlight on me, but it's hard to see from the top down. So I could be wrong with that, but I do think that it is a little bit of an issue there with how the pocket clip is, and it's just a little bit less intuitive as compared to some other ones, you know, specifically basically the brother version of it. But yeah, I think they're great knives. I think they're unique designs. I'm not like, they're not blowing me away. Some of his other stuff I've definitely enjoyed a lot more design wise, but you know, I feel like it's kind of plain Jane but unique enough in the same time to fill that niche, and it hits both angles in my opinion. So yeah, definitely like them. I was looking forward to checking them out. I've seen a lot of guys, you know, talking about them. I've seen Ray over Everyday City Carry back when these came out. These are like 2 or 3 months old at this point. But he was posting a lot about them, and you know, it's nice seeing what Kizer can do, you know, in that really, I mean, 150 to like 240-ish range. They can do a really good product, and I think the Staffi and the Bulli are, you know, great examples of that. So bottom line, you know, I don't think, and that's where I hate saying that, because people are going to be like, oh, you don't like the knife. I do like the knife. I think it's a good knife. I just don't think it's the best value on the board. I think there's other materials, other knives, other brands you can get that might be a little bit more bang for your buck, but I don't have an issue with the price. And if you were a fan of the design, then I say go for it, because you guys know Kizer Fit and Finish, and you know, all that stuff is fantastic. So but yeah, guys, that was my full review of the Kizer Knives Bulli and the Kizer Knife Staffi. Please leave a comment down below if you guys added one or both of these to your collection. Let me know, you know, what your guys' thoughts are on it. And yeah, so I'm going to wrap this up now. But thank you guys again so much for watching. I greatly appreciate each and every single one of you guys. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your morning, evening, day, night, whenever you guys are watching this. And I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.